They thought nothing could be worse than fire. They were wrong. Japanese soldiers had faced flamethrowers before, watched men burn, heard the screams echo through bunkers carved deep into Pacific islands. But in 1945, something new rolled onto the battlefield. Tanks. Not regular tanks. These didn't fire shells, they unleashed liquid hell that stuck to everything it touched, burned hotter than anything they'd seen, and turned concrete bunkers into crematoriums. The weapon that made flamethrowers look merciful. What happened next changed warfare forever. The weapon they knew. Japanese soldiers knew fire. They'd seen flamethrowers up close. The M1 A1 flamethrower shot flames about 20 to 25 yards, maybe lasting 7 seconds before running empty. It was terrifying, sure. Defenders in Pacific bunkers watched American Marines carry these weapons, heavy tanks strapped to their backs, moving slowly across open ground. Easy targets. One bullet to the fuel tank, and the flamethrower operator became a torch himself. Japanese forces had adapted. They'd dig deeper, build thicker concrete walls, create multiple escape routes in their underground fortifications. By 1945, they'd learned to counter this weapon. Troops would wait in reinforced positions, let the flamethrower get close, then open fire. The weapon had limits. Short range meant exposure. Limited fuel meant brief attacks. Soldiers could retreat deeper into tunnel systems, wait it out, then counterattack. They'd survived flamethrowers on Saipan, Peleliu, and Iwo Jima. They thought they'd seen the worst fire could do. But American engineers were building something different, something bigger. The napalm secret. Harvard scientists had created something new in 1942, napalm. The name came from two ingredients, naphthenic acid and palmitic acid, mixed with gasoline to create a gel that stuck to everything. Regular gasoline splashed and burned out quickly. Napalm was different. It clung like syrup, burned hotter, lasted longer, much longer. The mixture could burn for over 10 minutes at temperatures exceeding 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt steel, hot enough to suck oxygen from enclosed spaces. But here's what made it truly devastating. It stuck to human skin, to concrete, to metal, and kept burning no matter what you did. Water couldn't put it out. Dirt couldn't smother it. The military tested it in 1943, and commanders immediately saw its potential. By 1944, they were filling bombs with it, dropping it from planes over enemy positions. Japanese forces in the Philippines felt its effects first. Entire jungle positions turned into infernos. But the real innovation was still coming. Someone asked a simple question: what if we put this in tanks? Birth of the flame tank. The M4 Sherman tank was America's workhorse. Reliable, mass-produced, sent by the thousands to every battlefield. Engineers looked at it and saw potential for something more. They removed the main gun from some Shermans and installed something new, the E-12 7R1 flamethrower system. This wasn't a man-portable weapon anymore. The tank carried 290 gallons of napalm mixture in armored compartments. That's nearly 40 times more than a backpack flamethrower. The pressurized system could shoot flames over 150 yards. That's 1.5 football fields. The flame jet could sustain fire for nearly a minute straight, and the operator sat safely inside inches of steel armor. No exposed fuel tanks. No vulnerable soldier in the open. Just a nearly indestructible machine that breathed fire like a dragon from medieval nightmares. They called it the M4A3R3 Sherman Zippo tank. Marines gave it that nickname after the popular lighter. Lights first time, every time. By early 1945, these flame tanks were ready for deployment. Their first real test would come on a small volcanic island. An island called Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima's underground fortress. Iwo Jima was 8 square miles of volcanic rock. Japanese forces had spent months turning it into a fortress. Commander Tadamichi Kurobayashi knew the Americans were coming, and he'd prepared something special. His men dug 11 miles of underground tunnels. They carved positions into solid rock, connected them with passages, created multiple entrances and exits. Some bunkers sat under 75 feet of volcanic stone. American bombs couldn't reach them. Naval shells bounced off. Kurobayashi had 21,000 men underground with supplies to last months. The tunnels had hospitals, command centers, ammunition depots, an entire hidden base. Each bunker was positioned to cover others with interlocking fields of fire. Traditional infantry couldn't dig them out. Regular tanks couldn't angle their guns down into the fortified positions. Flamethrower teams would get cut down before reaching the entrances. American commanders knew this would be the bloodiest battle yet. They needed something new. They needed overwhelming firepower that could reach into those underground positions and eliminate resistance without exposing Marines to devastating counterfire. The flame tanks were coming, and Japanese defenders had no idea what was about to hit them.
The first encounter. February 19th, 1945. Marines stormed Iwo Jima's beaches. The Japanese let them land 30,000 men hit the volcanic sand before the defenders opened fire. It became a killing field. Then the Sherman flame tanks rolled off the landing craft. Japanese spotters radioed warnings about special tanks, but couldn't explain what they were seeing. The first tank approached a reinforced bunker. Marines had been pinned down by machine gun fire from the position for hours. Regular tank shells had just chipped the concrete. Infantry couldn't get close. The flame tank positioned itself about 50 yards out, turned its nozzle toward the bunker entrance, and fired. What came out wasn't a simple flame. A stream of burning gel shot through the air like liquid lightning, arcing into the bunker opening. The napalm splashed inside, coating walls, equipment, and everything in its path. It ignited the air itself. Defenders inside had seconds. The gel stuck to their uniforms, their weapons, their skin. They couldn't brush it off. Water stations underground became useless. The napalm just kept burning, consuming oxygen, filling tunnels with superheated smoke. Men died from burns, from suffocation, from sheer heat. Within minutes, the position fell silent. But this was just the beginning. Scorched earth tactics. The flame tanks changed everything about the battle. They worked in groups, supporting regular infantry advances across the island. Japanese defenders would open fire from hidden positions, and Marines would call in the Zippos. Each tank could hit multiple targets before needing to refuel. One flame tank commander reported clearing 8 separate bunker complexes in a single afternoon. The psychological effect was devastating. Japanese soldiers were trained to fight to the death, to never surrender. But napalm created a death so horrific that even the most dedicated defenders broke. Some ran from positions they'd sworn to hold forever. Others surrendered rather than face the flames. American forces documented bunkers where defenders had shot themselves rather than burn. The weapon was effective, but terrifyingly cruel. Temperatures inside targeted bunkers reached levels that carbonized human remains instantly. Some positions were sealed shut, the heat so intense it fused metal doors to their frames. By March, Japanese command on Iwo Jima sent desperate messages to Tokyo. They described the flame tanks as unstoppable demon weapons. They begged for anti-tank weapons specifically designed to counter them. But nothing came. The battle raged for 36 days. Over 6,800 Americans died taking the island. Nearly all 21,000 Japanese defenders were killed. The flame tanks had proven their worth. Okinawa and beyond. Okinawa would be the flame tank's next battlefield. April 1945. This island was larger, with even more elaborate cave systems and underground fortifications. Japanese forces had learned about the flame tanks from Iwo Jima survivors. They tried adapting. Defenders built baffled entrances, multiple turns that flames theoretically couldn't navigate. They created deeper positions, thinking distance would protect them. They stationed anti-tank teams with specific orders to target the flame tanks first. None of it mattered. The Zippos adjusted tactics too. They'd pump flames into an entrance for 30 seconds, wait, then hit it again. The napalm seeped around corners, flowed like liquid, found every pocket and passage. Carbon monoxide from the burning gel would flood tunnel systems, killing defenders who'd avoided the flames themselves. The battle lasted 82 days. Flame tanks cleared hundreds of fortified positions. By March, American commanders were planning the invasion of Japan itself. They ordered production of thousands more flame tanks for the assault. Intelligence estimated that taking the Japanese home islands would require fighting through millions of defenders in thousands of underground complexes. The flame tanks would lead that invasion. But then, something happened. Something that ended the war before those tanks could roll onto Japanese soil. The legacy. August 1945. 2 atomic bombs fell. Japan surrendered. The massive invasion never happened, and those thousands of flame tanks never saw their intended battlefield. But the weapon's impact lasted long after. American forces used flame tanks in Korea 5 years later, then extensively in Vietnam. The M67 Zippo became infamous in the jungles, clearing tunnels and bunker complexes. Other nations developed their own versions. The Soviets built the OT-34. The British made the Churchill Crocodile. But controversy grew with each use. International observers documented the horrific nature of napalm deaths. The United Nations began discussing flame weapons, eventually restricting their use against civilians. By the 1980s, most nations had phased out flame tanks. Modern warfare had moved on to missiles and precision strikes. Today, only a few flame tanks exist, sitting in museums, preserved as relics of a brutal chapter in military history. Veterans who faced them on Pacific Islands have nearly all passed away, but their accounts remain, describing a weapon that combined industrial-age engineering with humanity's oldest fear, the fear of burning alive. Japanese soldiers thought flamethrowers were the worst weapons they'd face. Then, napalm tanks arrived. The M4 Sherman Zippo tanks dominated Iwo Jima and Okinawa, proving flamethrower effectiveness against Japanese defensive tactics in the Pacific theater. These marine flamethrower tanks changed World War II combat forever. The napalm weapon transformed warfare, making traditional bunkers into death traps. When Japanese soldiers faced these flame tanks, they discovered something far beyond their worst nightmares. Fire had evolved, and warfare would never be the same.